So welcome to the another class on the features of North India. It will be part two. It is the paper on the government politics in of North India, be a sixth semester under the Manipur University. So we started discussing about the the origin or the idea how this North came about, and also the historical background, some of the features. But I thought three more important things we need to understand in the context of the historical background as well as a general understanding of the Northeast India. So the first one is the partition of India in 1947 on the religious line and its impact on the Northeast India. So that's important. So if you remember, the Sylhet district of then Assam province during British colonial rule, you had it was a Muslim majority area, and there was a referendum, and the majority of the people opted, okay, we want to be part of the Pakistan. So they went to the East Pakistan. But what I'm trying to say that there was a part of the Assam province. So Northeast India also has this partition, of course, in the kind of a district, and those Hindu population from the Sylhet, mostly the Bengali speaking population, came to India, and most of them are settled in the the Silchar area of Assam. So the point I want like to say is that the partition, its wounds, the impact of this location and the politics based on partition, we continue in some form of the other in the parts of India. So this is one thing. Other second thing is the continuation of the British colonial era's laws, then administrative system and legacies, and that is despite the adoption and functioning of a sovereign democratic federal republic. So we already passed 70 years since 1950, but still we continue. Let's take some example kind of irony. I'm not commenting whether it's good or bad, but just the factual kind of argument and information. If you look at what we call normally inner line permit system, or the the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation of 1873, the section 2 says that uh, you know uh, there is a kind of an inner line, and if you want to enter in that line, all the boundary of the that inner line system, then you require the permission of the district administration, especially the deputy commissioner. And it was introduced in the hill areas of then Assam province. Okay, and then by 1942, all the hill areas in Assam come under the inner line, except Khasi, Garo, and Mikhi hill areas. So that's one part. And here, what happened? The DC or the administrator permitted only the officials and the persons approved by them. So should they allow the Christian missionaries in one sense, and no one is allowed if they don't like, or if they think that whatever the reason may be, that no, you cannot enter this inner line area. They won't be allowed to enter. But the DC or the those time, or the British ICS officers, mostly from the England and others areas. So that's one area, and the tribal population in that inner line, they are left to themselves to manage and decide their own affairs. So that's one part. But if you look at the irony, is that the Ceylon, it was the capital or the center of the British colonial system in the Northeast India, but Shillong doesn't have the inner line party system. That's why the hill area and the tribal population. So maybe whatever the reason may be, we don't know. But today they are demanding the inner line permit system, but it is not extended in Meghalaya today. Of course, in Manipur, the inner line has been introduced recently. That's one part. So you have one problem of the colonial system, the colonial legacies, and one issue is that despite some democratic process and other things, we are not able to transform or change the British colonial area state structure, laws, and the processes, some of the systems. We are still continuing. That's the point I would like to say. Now, some of the events in the external events, but it has an impact on the India's policy as well as internal politics. Let's see some of them. Okay. First one is the Chinese invasion and occupation of the some parts of the Northeast India in 1962. In 1962 there was a there was a war. Chinese enter India and occupy territories after that event, it has a deep impact. Policy changes from the central government side towards the China, as well as the the region. So from that onwards, there was a attempt to have more military presence and security kind of a thing that has major changes in India's foreign policy and policy towards the region. That's the point I would like to say. Other is the partition of the Pakistan in 1971 into Bangladesh and Pakistan. So you had a refugee kind of issues problem in Northeast India and other parts of the India, especially West Bengal. But what I'm trying to say, these external events has an impact, something to do with the foreign countries, something to do with the India and the foreign countries, also have impact in some way or the other on the people and the politics in the region. So this is general understanding, and some these factors I thought is important. Now let's come to the geographical features. This is important. For a long time, geography is discussed, but from the point of the development, from the point of view of the politics and how the challenges we have, in that context, I thought geographical features are important. So we'll discuss some of these. There are, in fact, four geographical features in the North India. And this is very important in terms of ethnic diversity, in terms of history, as I say, in terms of socio-economic development and the political process, and even conflicts in the region. So in this context, I'm very, in fact, thankful to Wazar Nanjes, Department of Geography, Manipur College. I have some discussion on this, understanding of the ideas of the geographical features of the Northeast India. Okay, so let's come to that point. One is the plain or valley areas of Assam, Manipur, and Tripura. Okay, so these areas are very densely populated areas in the northeast. In fact, the majority population in the region lives in this area. So plain areas are the Brahmaputra Valley and Barak or Surma Valley in Assam. Okay, in Assam. The other is the central Manipur Valley and other valley areas of Tripura. In fact, sometimes people call it the Imphal Valley, but it is I think wrong notion, because now Imphal has the valley areas has various districts. So in that context, it's appropriate to term as a central Manipur Valley. Okay, now Brahmaputra Valley passes through the Arunachal Pradesh and run through almost at the middle of the Assam. If you look at the map, I can show you a little bit of this. The point I'm trying to say is that these geographical features has a impact on the whatever the problems, whatever the present thing we have. Just look at this. This is Arunachal Pradesh, and you find this what is called the blue color. This is the Brahmaputra Valley. So just look at this. So this upper portion, lower portion Assam is divided, and this is the pine. So similarly, you have lot of rivers running through this valley or central areas, and of course they are also created the fertile soil, but it also has other problems. Okay, and similarly, you have the other one in Assam, that is the Barak river, or the what you call the Surma Valley. This run through Brahmaputra, of course, run through Manipur and northern Assam. So this is one part. But coming back to Manipur, let's have little more detail here. In Manipur, Central Valley has many rivers originating from the surrounding higher hill areas. Say, let's see Imphal River, Iril River, Thawal River, and other smaller rivers pass through this valley area of the Manipur. So some smaller rivers fall in Loktak Lake, which is the largest freshwater lake in North India, and Manipur River. In fact, it is the name given after the Imphal River and Thawal River joins at the Sangmaijin area. Okay, that is bordering the now Kaching district and the Imphal West area. Okay, so then it falls to the river in Myanmar. So in addition to this river, in the entire Northeast India, there are various numbers of small rivers passing through the the different areas, including this valley areas. Now other is the what is called the mountain areas. So geographically, a large part of the Northeast India comes under these mountain areas. Then what are those areas? You have the eastern Himalayas mountain ranges, of Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. In many ways, these eastern Himalayas mountain ranges, act as the international boundaries between Bhutan and India, and also India and China. Okay, and also it acts as a kind of a barrier when you try to develop, transportation and means of communication and other things. This is one thing I would like to say. Other third area geographical feature is all what we call the hill areas. If you look at the entire Northeast, you have a small hill ranges. So it includes what is called the Indo-Myanmar hill ranges, starting from Patkai Bum in Arunachal Pradesh. Then it passes through Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, and Tripura. Okay, this is the higher hill ranges, and you have a sizable portion of the Northeast India comes under the hill areas, and wherever you go, any part of Northeast India, whether it's Manipur, Assam, including Manipur, then you will find the hill ranges, all the small hillocks you will find. So what I'm trying to say is that this is very important feature of the Northeast India, where you have the hill areas are there. In fact, the hill and mountain ranges form in the geographical sense, the major portion of the larger portion of the geographical area of the Northeast. This is what I want to focus. But the majority population live in the plain areas of the Northeast. This is another fact I would like to emphasize. Now let's come to the last features of geographical feature. Sometimes we call it Shillong Plateau. Sometimes we call it Meghalaya Plateau. Okay, Plateau is the the table line of lane where you have fairly high level ground, and it is in the context of this Shillong Plateau. It is on the northeastern flank of peninsular India. So in a way, is the expansion of the Deccan Plateau and other plateaus in Northeast on the rest of India. Then it is expanded, or it is the end in the Shillong Plateau. It is a rolling table lane kind of a thing, and highest portion of the hill mass, which comprises the state of Meghalaya. Okay, so in that sense, Meghalaya is different from the rest of the Northeast India in the sense that the plateau area is the majority or the larger portion of the Meghalaya. Okay, so in that sense, as I said, Meghalaya is different from the rest of Northeast India. So it also happens to be one of the rainiest areas in the world, and it is composed. This is a plateau area primarily of ancient rock and contains reserves of coal, iron ore, and limestone. So you keep hearing about this kind of iron ore, coal, and the limestone as far as the Meghalaya is concerned. So just to sum up, you find that historical background is important. Some kind of issues which also continue in the present time. We have to understand historical background, but the geographical features are also equally important. And Northeast India, is a range. It's a mixture of the high mountain ranges, hill ranges, larger and small valley areas, and also the plateaus. But these geographical features, play an important role in history, ethnic diversity, culture, development, politics, and in fact, the life of the people in the region. And at the same time, these geographical features, in many ways, act as a constraints in the development process, especially infrastructure development in the modern time. And this acting as a constraint is also due to the fact that it is also due to the lack of resources, technologies, and a failure to give priority by the politics. So until unless you try to resolve some of the issues, in the modern time, as I said, infrastructure development, handling the, say, floods, especially in Assam, in other parts of India. In Assam, every year you have the floods of different kinds, and until unless you are able to handle properly these geographical constraints or the problems we have, then we won't be able to resolve some of the issues, including infrastructure development and economic development, and also transportation and the other issues. So in order to understand the politics and the government in Northeast India, what I'm trying to emphasizing is that Not only the historical factors, but also geographical features are important. So next time we'll discuss the social economic diversity, ethnic pluralism, and also the economic features and also the political aspect of the conditions of the North India. Thank you for joining the class.